Today on Gamer's Couch,
Boss Monster.
I'm the boss, you're the monster. Set?
No?
Why not?
No.
I think it's a good idea. No?
No. Hello there.
Hi, and welcome to the Gamer's Couch. If you're new to our videos, every Sunday we talk about a new board game. Well, not new, but a different kind of board game. And today, as we already announced, Boss Monster. To introduce ourselves, I'm Sarah, the artist behind Pinselgeschichten, and this lovely creature here is my sweet husband Daniel, who will join me on the adventures of bringing board games and the love for the hobby to you and maybe your family or friends. That would be nice.
Sure.
Why? Yeah. Nice. So, for the game that we go into every week, we start with rules and gameplay before we talk about what we liked and maybe did not like about the game. And we wrap up the video with telling you maybe a few funny stories or experiences that we had while we played the game. And now, my dear, I'm handing the mic over to you. Tell us about the rules and gameplay of Boss Monster.
So if you haven't figured already, Boss Monster is an homage to all the good old 8-bit and sometimes 16-bit NES, Super NES, Mega Drive, or Genesis, as you may call them, games. Not the least, this comes in a package that looks very much like the game boxes for the NES, and it even has a little seal of quality in here. And to put that even further, the expansion comes in a little Game Boy cartridge pack. That's certainly some memories in here. After last week's bigger, more time-consuming game, we chose Boss Monster. First of all, because it's a smaller, more filler-type game that you can play with 2 to 4 players. It's a card game that plays rather quickly. And this is also a game that was brought to us as a gift from a friend. And as with everything, we value our friendship by the gifts that people are bringing us.
If they're board games.
No, all gifts. So,
okay.
So we actually our verdict on this will give you some insight on our social relations going.
Wow.
Not?
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Anyhow, so in Boss Monster, you are the Boss Monster. It's as I said, it's a card game, and there's a whole bunch of monsters to pick from. You get one. I actually suggest drafting a monster or handing them out at random. You have someone like Gorgona or Robobo. Sound familiar? King Croak.
That would be you.
Seducia. Anararak. Zyzax. Cleopatra, Cerebellus, and last but not least, Dracula. So these characters are your starting point. Each of these has an experience value, resource type, and a level up ability. Level up is the thing we're going to talk about last, probably, so let's get started. The experience type actually determines which player will go first in a dungeon, and the overall goal of the game is to build out your boss dungeon and lure in adventurers, hopefully killing them before they reach you, and therefore getting stronger by gaining souls instead of wounds. So you have this neat little stack of heroes, and again you have clerics, thieves, and let's see if I can find, there's a fool, a mage, a different mage, a fighter. So all these little dudes going into the dungeon have different needs. For example, this fighter is looking for mighty weapons, this little sword up here. The thief is looking for treasure with the treasure bag. A mage is looking for arcane knowledge, symbolized by this book over here. The fool just goes to whomever has the few souls because he's an idiot.
The player or the fool?
The fool.
Okay.
So your job is to start off with your character, then from a deck of cards, or so-called room cards, you may pick a couple of those, and then each turn you decide in 2 phases what to do. Phase 1 is the build phase, where you're allowed to place a room next to your other rooms or next to your dungeon boss monster. And each room has usually a treasure value. So this one comes with a sword, the Minotaur's maze. It's a monster room. And that would probably attract more fighters than anybody else because it has a sword on here. It also has a little heart value down here, and that is how much damage it does to a hero. So in that case, the Minotaur's maze isn't that good at a job doing that. However, this one says in the card text, the first time a hero enters this room, send it back 1 room, so it actually doubles the effect of another room. Or you have something like a Dark Altar, which is actually a trap room. The first one was a monster room. This one generates 2 unks, so more interesting for clerics to go in here, and actually does 1 heart damage to the hero, and has a card text saying, destroy this room, choose 1 card from the discard pile and put it into your hand, so you can destroy this room while a hero is in there, and then grab some more cards from the discard pile. There's also so-called advanced rooms, like this Monster's Ballroom or the Dracolich Lair. The advanced rooms have to be built on an already existent room that shares the symbol on down here, and are generally more powerful. As you can see, the Dracolich Lair actually does 3 damage and says once per turn you may discard 2 room cards to choose a room card from a discard pile. Or the Monster's Ballroom just has a star in here because this one's damage is equal to the number of monster rooms in your dungeon, which is super powerful if you have enough monster rooms on there. So as the game progresses, you will build out your dungeon. You will kill heroes until some epic heroes will show up. Epic heroes usually have more health and deal more damage. Well, I don't want to say they look better, but they certainly look more seasoned and more experienced going into your dungeon. The entire game happens simultaneously for all players participating. So in the first phase, where you build your room, each player is putting a room card face down until everybody is done, and then those cards get revealed. Then you will draw heroes or draw up heroes if you still have some in town for some reason, and determine which hero will go where to which dungeon, starting with the first one, looking what are his needs, figuring out which dungeon has the most of those, and if there's 2 dungeons having the same amount of a single resource that's attractive for that hero, he can't decide and stays in the bar and gets drunk and will come out next time someone has a more thorough resource offering out. So afterwards you move the heroes to the dungeon, and the hero will go into the dungeon, which kind of enters us into the second phase, the combat or the dungeoneering phase, or whatever you want to call it. It's the time where the hero will go from room to room and probably take A, wounds, and B, trigger special abilities in the room while he's going through. So that is actually done per hero in sequence. To mess around with other players, there are also spell cards, which are rare and sometimes difficult to come by, but very powerful in what they're doing. You have some cards that you can build during the build phase, which the small hammer down here says, but you also have some cards that you can use during the dungeoneering or the phase, whatever it's called. It's the little axe symbol, or some that you can actually use in both. So, for example, this teleportation spell says, send a hero in your dungeon back to the first room of your dungeon. It doesn't heal that hero, so that's a great card to get rid of a really powerful hero that almost made it to the end, and then pull a little ghosts and goblins on him and send him back and say, oh, this wasn't actually the end of the game. Play this game again. Give us more quarters. Thank you, Capcom, for that little inspiration. No, I don't have a long-term grudge with that game. Or you can have something like the Cobalt Strike, which has a little cute... Actually, this looks more like a dragon than a kobold.
That's Grisou.
But yeah. So this one says no rooms can be built this turn. Any face-down room is returned to its owner's hand. Certainly keeping or disrupting other players' plans from expanding their dungeon. Then you have the counter spell, which if you ever played a game like Magic, this is kind of important to have and super annoying for everybody else.
Not for you, yeah.
Or one of the cards I really like a lot, the Zombie Attack, which takes a hero that another player already defeated in his dungeon and sends it back, but makes him stronger by 2 hit points. So what happens when you kill one of those heroes? Well, you flip them over and they're worth 1 soul. Whenever a player has 10 souls together, he wins the game. Otherwise, if he's not able to defeat him, he creates 1 wound for that monster. If you have 5 or more wounds, you're out. And, you might already have guessed it, the basic hero gives 1 soul, deals 1 wound, whereas the epic hero deals 2 wounds, but also would give you 2 souls if you beat him. And that's the base game for you. The expansion I showed you also introduces items that get attached to the heroes, making them stronger, but giving you more flexibility once you beat them in terms of whenever they go through, you actually get a little benefit. So these are almost like spell cards you get in reward for defeating a hero who made it through. Like the Staff of Healing, which says until the end of turn, each hero entering your dungeon has 2 hit points more. So that is kind of a bummer. However, if you kill the guy, you can spend this card to heal 1 ordinary wound. So get rid of 1 of those pesky heroes who robbed you. Or something like the Goblin Suit. And I have to say this later, but yeah, the artwork is kind of one of the major draws in this game. So this one says, this hero takes no damage from ordinary monster rooms, so you need advanced rooms to get rid of it. However, until the end of turn, gives all your monster rooms plus 1 extra damage. So I guess that's kind of the fear tactics if you mount the heads of the recently slain heroes in your rooms, maybe okay. Something like that.
Sounds good.
And last but not least, the thing I actually have forgotten to tell you about, but I mentioned it up front, is the level up ability. So your dungeon can only reach a maximum amount of 5 rooms at any time. The first time you build your 5th room, you may trigger your level up ability, and that is unique for each of the bosses. So Draculot has a level up ability saying, target opponent reveals his or her hand to you. You take 1 of those cards and put it into your hand, which is pretty nice. But mind you, those level up abilities only get triggered once. If you listen to us on a previous of these things, it's very similar to the dungeon roll thing where you level up and then get a special through that, but you cannot go back or trigger the actual level up multiple times. Or Cerebellus, whose level up is you may draw 3 spell cards, then discard a spell card. That is really powerful. As I said, those spell cards are hard to come by because there's usually you won't have a lot of ways to grab them. There are some rooms that allow you to get more spell cards, but if you have those out, you're limited in other ways. They usually don't deal a lot of damage or make life hard in some other fashion. Or, for example, Cleopatra, the mother of mummies, who says, search the room deck or discard pile for an advanced trap room. You may immediately build the room, which is also really nice to have, but only if you already discarded a advanced room. So all of these have pretty unique things to play around with, making the game quite interesting. Now I promise that's that. And we may go over to things we like and dislike.
We're so fast today. We might make it under 1 hour.
It's a filler game.
Finally!
Which is really quickly done and explained. First and foremost, I mean, if you haven't guessed it from the cover and the box art, or I hope you are able to see the little pixelated guys on these cards. If you like 8-bit video games or the 8-bit art style, this is a game for you to get, because it looks amazingly cool with all those little guys on there, and the monster design. This is actually all of these look very much like something I would want to see in a video game, or that are heavily inspired by something in a video game. I mean, obviously, someone like King Crow looks very familiar to that Nintendo character, or Robobo, not only in name, is very similar to someone from maybe Punching Dragons kind of game. So, or Cerebellus, well, it says Father Brain on this, so there's no way around getting that Metroid reference. Yeah, but that's what this game is about. Without getting too lost into all the references, it's a wink and a nod to those games which I like. In itself, this game, I'd say, you want to play this with 3, preferably 4 players. The more players, the better, because this game is very luck dependent. It really makes or breaks your chances with what rooms did you get, or do you get which hero bosses you get dealt out at the beginning. It could be that it's very easy sailing for you, since you might be able to build up your dungeon and get everything in place and deal a lot of damage. But it could also be that you're just getting punched by every hero that's coming around. There's some strategy or some tactics in terms of what rooms you want to build, what resources you want to focus on, and that's typically what you do. You take a look at whatever everybody else is building, and you either have such a strong setup that you can easily compete with them in terms of resources, or you just go for the one that isn't that represented as much and just hope, or you kind of can expect that some heroes will show up later on that will go for your treasure, even if you miss out on the first couple of rounds. At least then you have the ability to build out your dungeon, because it's quite hard right at the beginning to kill the heroes. You get 1 room free at the beginning to build, so you start off with 2 rooms, and most of the heroes, well, the Fool has 2 hearts, but like the Mage comes with 4 hit points, and it's actually
if he's drawn early and you're the only one with a purple symbol,
and
you pretty much...
And that is on the low end. There's some early on characters like this Mage who comes with 8 hit points. It's almost impossible to get rid of them at the first round, unless you play trap rooms that say discard this room to kill the hero that is in the room.
Yeah, or you have a spell on hand. If I remember correctly, you'd have 2 spells at the beginning of the game, so you might get lucky.
You start with I might be wrong, but I think you start with you draw 5 room cards and 2 spell cards, and you then have to give away 2 cards. And
something like that.
To be honest, you will probably never give away your spell cards, because they are kind of the game breaker for everybody else, or for you if you don't have some more flexibility in terms of being able to play spells. Even a counter spell is invaluable, because there's a lot of cards that other players can have. Something like some card that freezes a room, so the hero won't take any damage, or that room won't activate while the hero is in that. And the entire game feels very... it almost feels like you have to do your really best effort to just get by. It's... I never had a session where it's,
That's totally easy. I'm so far ahead.
I'm doing
Yeah.
15 points of damage to every hero who even dares entering my dungeon, and I don't have to think about it. No, it's almost literally like, what card can I play to actually get the hero that I have a chance to beat into my dungeon without the other players stealing him away from me? And secondly, how can I just up my damage output of the dungeon by just one to get
Yeah.
that? Which is a kind of more dungeon keepery look at things, which takes out the funny side with all those pictures. Yeah, but my suggestion at that point would be, don't play this competitively. Enjoy it for being you're the jerk monster and you want to lure people into your dungeon and kill them, and enjoy the artwork.
Yeah.
And
It's a bit like Epic Spell Wars from the
Yeah.
way you should approach the game. Play it for the fun of it and for it looking awesome, and not for competing very hard with your co-players.
and for it being played in a fast manner.
Yeah.
So this box says
It's a great
30,
opener.
30 minutes. And
Yeah.
I have to say, I really like boxes that have, hope
Yeah.
you can see that have some semi glossy thing on there. I don't know, for whatever reason.
Yeah, it just looks great. I mean, it adds another layer to the box.
By the way, it's called the adventure phase, not the dungeoneering phase. I'm now reading the manual. And also this is it is made in the very same fashion as an old NES manual, with the format it comes in. And yeah,
it was very well put together, that manual, if I remember correctly, right? You were reading most of it, so did you like the manual?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're mean about things like the manual was crap. It really took us long, or lots of internet pages to get everything set up and known before the game. So we always highly value good manuals. So
no, these as I said, thematic, they look like a video game manual, even with the illustrations and the way this is set up with little guys in between there.
The goddamn dragon
it
is
even
so
comes
cute.
with an FAQ at the end, and adding some variants and explaining everything in great detail. It's really nicely done. So it's a really good filler game that you want to play in between other games, and
or before everybody arrives, just have the smaller group start with something off. What I really like about the game, what is different, is that you're not playing the hero for once, fighting against the monster, but you're the boss monster, waiting for those little dudes to walk into your dungeon like, oh, there's some crystal, oh, I got this and that treasure, and then you're sitting there like, not gonna get that unless I'm dead, and I'm not gonna die easily. So it's just really nice to have a game that has the perspective changed up for once. So I really like that about the game. And of course, I'm also very big on the artwork. I never played those games because I didn't have an NES or something. I was not.
I didn't.
My parents were not rich. They couldn't afford.
I didn't have an NES either. However, I went out and played one in the mall when I was a kid all the time.
Yeah,
they had one
not
demo
happening.
system.
Not happening. I was only school, sports, and art. That's what I
have
spend
to,
my time on.
I have to say,
a lot of reading.
I had a Game Boy and a Super Nintendo later on then, but never owned an NES. And
no, I didn't have any of those consoles. Nothing. So I didn't ever play those games when I was a kid. So I didn't have any references to the artwork, what they'd represent in the games.
That's why I'm the guy who's referencing things.
Yeah, however, I still adore those tiny, sweet pictures on the cards. They're really cute, and I like just the style of the artwork, the 8-bit or 16-bit.
And if you ever doubted the video game reference, please look at Princess in Peril, and it's certainly all in here.
Is it peachy?
Yes, it is.
It's peachy. Okay.
It is indeed.
So I really just like it. I also like the feel, the quality of the cards, which is just very solid, nice. It's a nice size of the card. So even for dudes with large hands like Daniel, he's not complaining about them. And what I really like is that they use the font on the cards that you could actually read. Sometimes there's just fonts used where like, oh god damn it, what's standing on there, what's going on, but this is really very simple, very straightforward, and I really like it. It adds to the speed of the game.
I have to say the actual rule text on the cards, well, it's, as you can see, it's already crammed in here, but it is tiny in some reference. So you
but it has a clean font, which makes it easy to read. At least for me. I mean, I'm short-sighted, so I can read at that length really easily. It's fine for me, but I just really like it. I like that you can mess with the other player while playing your own strategy for your dungeon, or you can focus on one of them depending on what kind of cards you have, so you don't have to screw up the other player's gameplay, but you can do it if maybe you can't do anything else in your dungeon. You can at least screw somebody else's gameplay, which is nice. You're just not sitting on the table waiting for the right cards to come, but you can actually always do something to participate in the game, which is just something that I really like in card games. I don't like sitting there waiting for the right cards like I most times do with Magic. Just putting that in there since you referenced the Magic game already. But it's just... it's nice, it's quick, it's a filler game, it's a maybe starting the night game, and it has a nice topic. It's different. It's not the standard opening game. So I really like it, and it's quirky, it's sweet, it's cute. So yeah, let's rate?
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, is the rate?
So now I'm giving this, let's say, 7 Metroids out of 4 Koopa Troopers. So, very solid game for what it does. It's a great looking, fun filler game. I'd recommend to play it 1 or 2 times per session and then moving on to another game. This won't keep you occupied for the entire evening. If you have kids, there's some pixelated blood on these, and if you're offended by those, it is literally pixelated blood. There's like 2 or 3 pixels of blood on there. But I'm pretty certain if your kid is old enough to have something like a DS or any other console, that might be an interesting way to catch their attention or move them over to board games if they fancy their video game console a bit more than the board game console. The art style is not that far off from what Minecraft is, so that might be a way to convince the kids of board games.
Segue into the board games.
It's a gateway game now.
Yeah. Door. No, on my scale of 1 to awesome, it's awesome, so solid 10. I wonder, though, if it's meanwhile available in other languages, or if it's still just... and that is in quotes in English.
Well, it's English, and since we at Essen got a German card for the...
because this was a Kickstarter, if I remember correctly, right? So I don't know how they did
as I said at the intro, we got this as a present from a friend who tries to gain our favor by... Anyhow, no, we didn't kickstart this game. Although I probably would have if I had actually noticed the existence of that game, because due to the art style.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering if they made it in other languages. It's from 2012, so
I think
maybe
I think
in the 3 years.
at last Essen they came up with they showed up with the German version. The English version has been in stores here for quite some time, so there was some regular commercial release, and it seems to be going well for them if they bring out those
Expansions.
little expansions. I think there's another one out. I
think so too.
have seen. Obviously, this is a game that greatly would benefit from more diverse heroes and obviously more diverse bosses as well as rooms. So there's plenty of room, no pun intended, to expand this game. Actually, one thing I like to see more in the future is a bit more diversity for the heroes, because the heroes, except for the Fool, they all come with fluff text and nothing else but their what they're looking for, their health, and the amount of souls of wounds they create. So there's no special rules attached to the heroes, which I think might make it quite interesting if they had some little rules on there as well, similar to the rooms. That would be a nice way to put a little bit more interactivity into the game by having the heroes do more interesting things. Also, maybe there's the items seem to be a good way to de-emphasize the necessity to focus on the spell cards so heavily. I think that's a good idea. Balancing the game out. But that being said, as said earlier, this game is not a game you go in and say, I know how to play this game to win this game.
No.
You will play this game to build a ridiculous dungeon and then kill people going in
and giggle along the way. That's a must-have. I mean, we always did. Whenever we played the game, we giggled really hard at the dungeons that we build and what our boss monsters have as an apartment to show for when guests come over, aka heroes to kill. I don't remember any specific funny story with this game, but overall, any game that we played was very, very much fun and just adorable. Everybody loved the artwork and the way the game felt when they played and how quick it was to learn. So we played it with 2, 3, and 4 people. And every time, no matter how many players we had, everybody really enjoyed it. I mean, it has a sweet spot with 3 or 4 players. Just the 2 of us, we can make up for the lack of other players by being totally ridiculous with each other. But it's it's just way more funny just because you have other people at the table that enjoy the game, that enjoy the artwork, that make fun, that come up with funny voices for the monsters and the heroes and all that kind of things. So it just adds so much more to the experience when you have 3 or 4 players.
But that's also a good reminder for me. So this game, also quite topical, just released on the iPad. I'm not sure about Android releases. But as I said, this game is played fast. If you're playing with real people, if you want to try that out, grab the iPad version. It's actually free. It comes with one boss, and if you want to have the full game, I think it's $5 or $6, something like that. But you at least have enough in there to try it out if this is something for you. I have to say though, I felt that game felt quite slow on the iPad to me, simply because every time in the real game where you would say I'm playing a spell, in the iPad version, there's a counter that kind of is just going 3 to 5 seconds, but it's all every time you may play the ability of room or a spell card, which kind of feels like, oh, come on. It's like if I'm playing just me against the machine, I don't know if there's a better way to do that, but it just felt a little bit of clunky to
bit slow there
to do that. That being said, it's pretty much the game, the card game. So it's a good way to get an idea of how the game plays.
Yeah.
Just know you probably will want to play that in person with a full set of 4 people, and it will still go faster probably than that.
Guess so.
Unless you're playing with someone who's looking maniacally at his cards and saying, which monster room am I going to play? Only then to decide that none.
Analysis paralysis. But we never had that. Even with players that take longer to decide, we never had that bottleneck feeling like, no.
For the most
part, did you play yet?
For the most part, the decisions in there are fairly straightforward.
Yeah, it's yes or no. I mean, there's not much you can...
At the beginning, you don't have a lot of rooms, so you will keep on building out rooms just to be able to dish out more damage. Once you hit your five room cap, then it's all about how do I improve my rooms, and that's either by playing advanced rooms on existing rooms if you can, or replacing a room with another basic room that is better suited for what you want to do, or maybe you want to avoid a hero. And,
but then again, you always have to have the cards on your hand, so it limits your decision. It limits the thoughts you might have that could take a long time. So it doesn't need a stopwatch, even for players that take a very, very long time to decide. So I think it's just by the cards, the amount that you have and the opportunities that you have and the rules, what kind of basic room you gotta have to build an advanced room. It just takes away a lot of things that could take you a long time to decide what color you are using to redecorate your dungeon. Is it going to be purple or bronze or, I don't know, pink or something?
And since you're only drawing 1 room card per turn,
it's just so much that changes.
You cannot accelerate the thing. You will probably end up after 2 or 3 rounds. You will have played your spell cards at some point. You will have played your room cards, so you have 4 or 5 room cards depending on some outside effects. And that's kind of all you have on hand to choose from. And given the dungeon that is in front of you, you're probably also limited by how many open spaces do I have. Can I actually build the advanced room I want to build? Do I have a basic room to fit that? Or not? And
and just by probably saying no to most of these options while you look at your hand and the other players do their stuff, it's fairly quick or simple that you only have one option to go with yes once it's your turn again, and you just do it. So I really like that it's so fast. It's a perfect getting everybody in the mood for a bigger game that night kind of thing. I really like that, not as a filler so much, but as a starter for the night, because it's bubbly. It's bubbly. It's funny. It's quick. It's sweet. It's lovely. You have a good laugh at the beginning already. Well,
I'm freezing your room.
You're not, because everybody teams up to play against him if we can. But when you win the way more than everybody else does.
No, I don't. That's actually a myth.
You don't have to overcome the 5-foot obstacle. You have to overcome the 15-foot obstacle, which must make you feel way more rewarded when you actually do overcome it and you win. You know? No?
Goodbye. We will have a very serious discussion about this later.
Yeah, when the guys come over and we have the gaming night. So, thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, any comments, let us know in the comment section below. Maybe give this game a try. It's really, really cool. And if you feel like sharing this video with other people that you think should see it, go ahead. We would love that. Also, if you haven't already, why not subscribe to the channel? There is lots of art videos and every Sunday a board game video for you, just to keep you entertained and of course for us to have fun. And we're going to see you next Sunday with a new game. Have a very good one. Enjoy, go create, go play a game, whatever you feel like. Bye-bye, everybody.
Goodbye.